My name is Sarah Carter, and I was 36 years old when my family showed me exactly what they believed my life was worth. I was standing in a cemetery with wet grass soaking through my boots. In front of me were two fresh graves. One belonged to my husband, Michael. The other belonged to my 6-year-old daughter, Emma. The people who should have been standing beside me were nowhere to be seen. My mother wasn't there. My father wasn't there. My brother wasn't there. They had skipped the funeral completely. They called it a trivial event. Then they got on a plane and flew to Hawaii. 5 days after I buried my husband and my little girl, my mother finally called me. Not to comfort me. Not to say she was sorry. Not to ask if I was eating, sleeping, or surviving. She called to ask me for money. And what happened after that changed my life forever. These days I wake up at 4 a.m. The house is always dark. I walk through the kitchen without turning on the lights because nobody is there to see them anymore. The first thing I touch every morning is my truck key. Cold metal. Simple and solid. Something real. I hold it in my hand while I walk across the gravel toward the yard. My truck smells like diesel fuel and old coffee. Most people would hate that smell. I love it. For 20 quiet minutes before sunrise, sitting in that driver's seat, it feels like the only place in the world that still belongs to me. I drove long-haul freight for 11 years. A lot of people assumed Michael owned the business. Michael thought it was hilarious. We would stop at truck stations and someone would hand him paperwork while completely ignoring me. He would sit there smiling and wait. Then eventually they would realize the owner was actually the woman covered in grease and road dust. Michael laughed every single time. His coffee mug still sits inside my truck. I don't use it. I just keep it there beside me. Like he's still riding shotgun. People think grief is loud. It isn't. Not most of the time. Most of the time grief is small. It's reaching for someone who isn't there. It's hearing a joke and turning to share it before remembering. It's seeing a toy on the floor and suddenly feeling like you can't breathe. Near my front door are 2 little yellow rain boots. Emma left them there. I still haven't moved them. Every morning I tell myself I will. Every morning I don't. 11 months ago, I still had a family. To explain how I lost them, I have to start with the storm. It rained for 3 straight days that spring. The kind of rain that makes rivers angry. The kind that turns safe roads into dangerous ones without warning. I was 500 miles away making a delivery when my phone rang. Michael had picked Emma up early because the weather was getting worse. He was one of the safest drivers I had ever known. 20 years behind the wheel. No tickets. No accidents. No foolish decisions. He slowed down for yellow lights. He believed arriving late was better than never arriving at all. The highway near town was flooding, so he took a county road home. Out past an old farm there was a low-water crossing. Most days nobody even noticed it. But that day the creek rose faster than anyone expected. The water came over the road while Michael was crossing. They found his truck downstream 2 days later. I'm not going to describe the rest. Emma was 6 years old. She deserves better than becoming a tragic detail in somebody's story. What matters is this. The moment I got the call, I drove home. 9 straight hours. No sleep. No breaks. Just me, the road, and a heart that kept refusing to believe what it already knew. The whole drive I kept making deals with reality. Maybe there had been a mistake. Maybe someone got the names wrong. Maybe they survived. Maybe. 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 When I finally reached town, I knew the truth before anyone spoke. There were casseroles on my porch. The sheriff's vehicle sat in my driveway. Neighbors stood in little groups outside. Everyone knew. Everyone except me. I was 9 hours too late. The first person I called was my mother. I thought she would come. I thought any mother would. Instead, her first question was whether the funeral could wait. I sat on the kitchen floor holding the phone. "What?" I asked. She sighed. The way someone sighs when a meeting gets moved. "Your father and I have a trip planned." I honestly thought she didn't understand. "Mom," I said, "Michael and Emma are dead." "I know that, Sarah." Her voice was calm. Too calm. "We already paid for Hawaii." For a few seconds I couldn't speak. I remember staring at Emma's drawing on the refrigerator while my mother explained airline tickets and hotel reservations. As if any of those things mattered. As if there was a vacation on Earth worth more than burying your granddaughter. Then my sister-in-law Lauren took over the family group chat. Lauren always took over everything. She wrote a long message about how sorry everyone was. Then she explained how disappointed the children would be if the trip got cancelled. Then she typed something that still makes my stomach hurt. "A funeral is sad, but we shouldn't throw away a family vacation over a trivial event." A trivial event. My daughter's funeral. I read that sentence 4 times. Then my mother replied. 1 thumbs up emoji. 1 word. Agreed. Not one of them asked how Emma died. Not one of them asked whether I needed help. Not one of them asked if I was alone. They only wanted to know what date worked best for them. That was the moment something broke. Or maybe something finally woke up. I stopped asking. I stopped pleading. I told them the funeral would be Saturday. They could come or not. Then I hung up. For the first time in my life, I saw my family exactly as they were. And strangely, that truth didn't destroy me. It freed me. The church was packed on Saturday. Michael's coworkers came. Emma's teacher came. The soccer team Michael coached came wearing their blue jerseys. Neighbors came. Friends came. People drove hours to be there. The front pew was reserved for family. It stayed empty. I couldn't even look at it. So I sat in the second row with the people who actually showed up. My uncle Walter drove 4 hours to be there. He stood beside me through everything. At one point I thought I might collapse. His hand landed on my shoulder. Steady. Strong. Like a fence post in a storm. I gave the eulogy myself. Nobody else was going to do it. I told them Michael slowed down for yellow lights. I told them Emma drew trucks instead of princesses. I told them they were the best thing that ever happened to me. I told them I loved them. I didn't mention my parents. I didn't need to. Everyone could see the empty seats. After the burial, Walter walked me to my truck. The cemetery was quiet. The rain had finally stopped. He looked at me and said something nobody else was brave enough to say. "Sarah, they're not coming back." I stared at him. "What?" "Your parents. Your brother. They're not coming back to you." "Not really." The truth hurt. But not because it was new. Because it wasn't. Some part of me had known it my entire life. 5 days later my mother called again. This time I answered. I was exhausted. Too tired to keep ignoring her. There was airport noise in the background. People talking. Announcements. Luggage wheels rolling across floors. Then she got straight to business. "Sarah, we need to discuss the money." I blinked. "What money?" "The $40,000. I sat down. My mother explained that my brother Jason's dealership was struggling. The family needed to help. Everyone had to come together. Then she said the sentence I will remember for the rest of my life. "We can always make more money. We can't make more family." I looked toward the front door. At Emma's little yellow boots. At the place where my daughter should have been. The people who skipped her funeral were asking me for $40,000. And somehow they believed they were the victims. I asked one question. "What $40,000 do you think belongs to you?" There was silence. Long silence. The kind of silence that tells you someone already feels entitled to something. For years earlier I wanted to buy my own truck. A good used tractor wasn't cheap. I had saved most of the money myself. But I was short. My parents gave me $40,000. They called it a gift. The bank required paperwork proving it wasn't a loan. I personally watched my mother and father sign the document. No repayment expected. Gift. Not loan. End of discussion. At least that's what I thought. Apparently my family remembered things differently. The next day Jason called. My brother was 33 years old. Most of his life my parents treated him like he could do no wrong. They helped him constantly. Paid bills. Covered mistakes. Fixed problems. Now his dealership was failing. And somehow that had become my responsibility. Jason didn't ask about Emma. He didn't ask about Michael. He went straight to money. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. You're alone now. What do you even need it for? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Alone now. As if losing my husband and daughter made me less human. As if grief came with a refund. I ended the call before I said something I couldn't take back. Then Lauren started texting. Then my mother. Then my father. Every day. Family helps family. Think about your nieces and nephews. Think about Jason. Think about everyone except yourself. Not one message mentioned Emma. Not one. A week later I learned something even worse. They had already started telling relatives their version of events. According to them, I was selfish. According to them, Jason was struggling. According to them, I had turned my back on family. They built the story before I even said no. I was already the villain. One night I sat at my kitchen table with my checkbook. I was tired. So tired. $40,000 would nearly empty my savings. But maybe the calls would stop. Maybe the pressure would stop. Maybe the noise would stop. Then Walter stopped by. He noticed the checkbook immediately. He didn't yell. Didn't lecture. He just looked at me. You'd really do it, wouldn't you? I looked away. You'd pay them to keep treating you like this. I put the pen down. Because he was right. I wasn't protecting myself. I was protecting them. The next morning I went back to work. Work became my escape. But even there people doubted me. Some customers assumed I would sell the business. Some brokers wondered if I could survive without Michael. A few people quietly predicted I wouldn't last 6 months. They thought grief would finish what tragedy started. Then Susan found me. Susan had spent 30 years in trucking. She bought me breakfast one morning. Listened quietly. Then gave me advice that changed everything. People are either helping you or hurting you, she said. There is no middle ground. I never forgot those words. From that day on, I stopped trying to convince people. I just worked. Harder than ever. 3 weeks later, a major grocery contract landed on my desk. It was the biggest opportunity I'd ever seen. The kind that could change my company forever. To take it, I needed another truck. That meant cleaning out Michael's old rig. The thought alone nearly broke me. But I did it anyway. One item at a time. His sunglasses. His spare change. Old receipts. A church bulletin. Then I found something unexpected. An old paper logbook hidden in the door pocket. Michael kept paper logs long after he needed them. Habit. I carried it home. Set it on the kitchen table. And stared at it for 3 straight days. I had no idea that inside that old notebook was something that would change the entire direction of my life. And when I finally opened it, everything was going to be different. For 3 days, Michael's old logbook sat on my kitchen table. Every time I walked past it, I looked away. I wasn't afraid of paperwork. I was afraid of him. Afraid of finding one more piece of the man I had lost. Afraid of reading words that would make me miss him even more. On the third night, I finally opened it. The house was silent. A cup of coffee sat beside me growing cold. I flipped through page after page of careful handwriting. Routes. Miles. Fuel stops. Delivery notes. 20 years of a hard-working man's life written in pencil. Then I reached the final page. And everything stopped. It wasn't a log entry. It was a list. At the top, Michael had written. Things we're going to do. My eyes filled with tears immediately. The first few items made me smile. Pay off equipment. Expand the business. Buy another truck. Then I reached the line that stole the air from my lungs. Carter and daughter. I stared at those words for a long time. Michael had already chosen the name. The company we always talked about building. The company we dreamed of owning together. And he wanted Emma's name in it. Underneath he had written. So Emma grows up knowing her mom built something. I broke down completely. Not because the words were sad. Because they were beautiful. Michael had been planning a future he never got to see. A future that included our little girl. The next morning, I walked out to his truck. I opened the visor above the driver's seat. Exactly where I knew it would be. Emma's drawing. The same one she made 2 years earlier. 3 crooked trucks. A stick figure with yellow hair. And underneath, written in careful kindergarten letters. Mama's trucks. I held that drawing against my chest. My family called her funeral a trivial event. But Michael had built dreams around her. That difference told me everything. That afternoon, I filed paperwork. The business officially became Carter and Daughter Freight. Some people told me it was strange. Emma was gone. Why keep her name? Because she earned it. Some names stay with you forever. After that, something changed inside me. I wasn't waiting for grief to end anymore. I was building something. And I was building it for her. While my company started growing, my family kept spreading lies. Lauren led the charge. She always did. According to her, I had become cold. According to her, success had changed me. According to her, I was abandoning family. Every day there was another phone call. Another rumor. Another story. Then Claire called. Claire was my cousin. One of the few people in the family who still had common sense. Her voice sounded nervous. They're planning something. My stomach tightened. What? Your parents' 40th anniversary party. I hadn't planned to attend. Claire continued. They're going to pressure you in front of everyone. The plan was simple. My father would make a speech. He would bring up the $40,000. The entire family would watch. Either I would give in, or I would look heartless. It was a trap. A carefully planned public ambush. Claire thought I should stay home. For a few minutes, I agreed. Then something inside me became very calm. They wanted an audience. Fine. Let them have one. Because audiences work both ways. That night I remembered the gift letter. The document my parents signed years ago. The one proving the money was never a loan. The next morning I called my bank. A few days later, I sat across from a loan officer while he searched old files. Finally, he found it. 1 sheet of paper. 2 signatures. My mother. My father. Clear as day. The funds represent a gift. No repayment expected. Not a loan. Not in any form. I paid for a certified copy. Then I drove home smiling for the first time in months. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I finally had proof. While I waited for the anniversary party, Carter and daughter freight exploded with growth. I accepted the grocery contract. Bought another truck. Then another. Good drivers started joining me. Drivers who wanted honesty. Drivers who wanted fair treatment. Soon I had 3 trucks rolling down highways. All painted deep green. All carrying the company name. And beneath that name, painted carefully on every door, were Emma's 3 crooked crayon trucks. The first time I saw all 3 parked together, I cried. Not from sadness. From pride. Michael would have loved it. Emma would have pointed and yelled. Those are mine. The business kept growing. People noticed. Including my family. Suddenly my mother started sending warm messages. We're proud of you. We always believed in you. I ignored them. Funny how people become supportive when success shows up. The anniversary party got closer. And the lies got bigger. My mother told everyone she could find that I had abandoned family. That grief made me bitter. That I refused to help my struggling brother. Then Claire found something incredible. A photograph. My mother had posted a Hawaii vacation picture online. Everyone smiling. Flower necklaces around their necks. Tropical drinks in their hands. The date stamp was impossible to ignore. One day after Emma's funeral, Claire quietly started showing people. No arguments. No drama. Just dates. The funeral date. The vacation photo date. Side by side. People started asking questions. Relatives started realizing they had been lied to. The ground beneath my parents' story was beginning to crack. They just didn't know it yet. For days before the party, I drove to a lake. Not the crossing. Never the crossing. A different lake where Michael used to take Emma. The water was flat and silver. I sat there at sunrise. For the first time in almost a year, I talked out loud. I told Emma about the trucks. I told Michael about the company. I told them about the anniversary party. And sitting there in the quiet, I realized something important. I didn't want my family destroyed. I didn't want Jason's children hurt. I didn't want revenge. I wanted the truth. I wanted people to know what really happened. That was all. The night before the party, Walter came by. He offered to stand beside me. To support me. To protect me. I appreciated it. But I shook my head. No. You sure? Yes. I smiled. I'm not walking into a fight. Walter studied me. Then nodded. Your father never had your backbone. I laughed softly. It was exactly what I needed to hear. The next morning I dressed simply. Dark clothes. Nothing flashy. I placed the certified gift letter inside my coat pocket. Then I drove to the church hall. The room was packed. Flowers. Cake. Banners. Family members talking and laughing. My mother spotted me immediately. For a second her face showed surprise. Then satisfaction. She thought she had won. Lauren walked over and kissed the air beside my cheek. Fake as ever. Jason wouldn't even look at me. I got a slice of cake. Sat quietly. And waited. Eventually my father stood. He tapped a spoon against a glass. The room grew silent. He thanked everyone for coming. Talked about marriage. Family. Love. Then he turned toward me. Slowly. Deliberately. Exactly as planned. Family helps family, he said. Several people nodded. We gave Sarah $40,000 when she needed it. There it was. The setup. The trap. And now Jason needs help. Yet she refuses. Murmurs spread through the room. Lauren jumped in immediately. After everything we've done for her. More murmurs. Then she smiled sadly. The performance of a lifetime. We even missed that funeral because family needed us. A few people looked uncomfortable. I stood up. The room became quiet. Very quiet. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't shout. I simply placed my paper plate down. Then I reached into my coat and pulled out a sheet of paper. I laid it beside the cake. This, I said calmly, is the date of Michael and Emma's funeral. People leaned forward. I pointed to another date. And this is the day after. Then I placed the Hawaii photograph beside it. Flower necklaces. Beach. Smiles. The room froze. Nobody spoke. You didn't miss the funeral because family needed you, I said. You skipped a child's funeral for a vacation. The silence became heavy. People stared at the photo. Then at my parents. Then back at the photo. My mother's face started losing color. Lauren tried to interrupt. That's not fair. I continued speaking. The day after I buried my husband and daughter, you were on a beach. Several relatives exchanged shocked looks. One aunt covered her mouth. An older cousin whispered, "Oh my God." I wasn't finished. And 5 days later, my mother called asking me for $40,000. Now people were openly staring. Jason suddenly exploded. He jumped to his feet. You're twisting everything. His face turned red. He pointed at me. You owe this family. He started shouting. Calling me selfish. Ungrateful. Bitter. The louder he became, the calmer I felt. Finally he ran out of words. The room stayed silent. Then I reached into my coat one last time. And pulled out the certified gift letter. I placed it beside the photo. This document was signed by my parents. Nobody moved. It states the $40,000 was a gift. I slid it toward the center of the table. No repayment expected. A relative picked it up. Then another. Then another. Soon people were passing it around. Reading every word. Checking every signature. My father's face turned gray. Lauren grabbed the paper. Read it. Then read it again. The confidence disappeared from her expression. One uncle cleared his throat. So you signed this? My father said nothing. An aunt looked directly at my mother. You told us it was a loan. Silence. Another relative spoke. You said Sarah owed the money back. More silence. The room was turning. Slowly at first. Then all at once. Lauren tried to recover. It was understood. No, an aunt snapped. It wasn't. Lauren fell silent. For the first time all day, she had nothing to say. People kept reading. Kept comparing dates. Kept looking at the signatures. The story my family built was collapsing right in front of them. Then something happened I hadn't expected. Relatives started speaking up. One after another. You skipped Emma's funeral? You were in Hawaii? You asked for money afterward? I can't believe this. My mother looked overwhelmed. For years she controlled every family narrative. Now she couldn't control any of them. A cousin shook his head. I defended you. Another relative looked angry. You lied to all of us. The room had completely changed. The audience my parents gathered for my humiliation had become witnesses against them. My mother finally whispered my name. Sarah. Like maybe there was still a way out. There wasn't. Jason looked around the room. For the first time he realized nobody was supporting him. Nobody. The pressure he planned for me had landed on him instead. Then something surprising happened. His shoulders dropped. His anger disappeared. And for the first time in 11 months, he looked honest. Sarah, he said quietly. I'm scared. The room fell silent again. I believed him. I really did. The dealership was failing. His future was uncertain. His children would feel the consequences. I understood all of that. But there was still something missing. One simple thing. He never said he was sorry. Not for Emma. Not for Michael. Not for the funeral. Not for the lies. Not for any of it. Only for himself. I felt the old instinct. The urge to save him. The urge that had followed me my whole life. Then I let it go. I hope things work out, Jason. My voice was calm. Sincere. I really do. I folded the documents. Placed them back inside my coat. But you're going to have to figure it out without me. Nobody stopped me. Nobody argued. Nobody shouted. I simply walked out. The cold air hit my face. And for the first time in almost a year, I could breathe. The story died in that room. The lie. The debt. The manipulation. All of it. The dealership failed that fall. I heard about it through Claire. My parents tried calling. I didn't answer. Eventually they stopped. And the silence that followed was peaceful. Walter still comes to Sunday dinner. Claire became one of my closest friends. Susan still answers freight questions. Carter and daughter freight runs 5 trucks now. All painted green. All carrying Emma's little crayon trucks. People ask about them all the time. And every time they do, I get to say her name. Emma. My daughter. I finally moved the yellow rain boots. Not far. Just onto a shelf where I can still see them. One spring morning I returned to the lake. I brought wildflowers. The water was calm. The sunrise was beautiful. And for the first time, standing there didn't break me. It healed me. I left the flowers on the shore. For Michael. For Emma. The 2 people who truly built my life. And as I stood there watching the silver water, I realized something simple. Family isn't blood. Family is who shows up. The people who stand beside you when there is nothing to gain. The people who stay when life falls apart. Those are the people worth keeping. The rest are just relatives. And sometimes, letting them go is the healthiest thing you'll ever do. If this story meant something to you, remember the people who showed up during your hardest days. They're your real family. Never forget that. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories like this. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done in my place?